Hello, my name is Ginger Barzodi, and today I'll be presenting my persuasive speech titled, Stop Taking Nutrition Advice from Social Media. I chose this topic because we live in a world where anyone with a phone and a following can call themselves a health expert, even if they have zero credentials. This is a growing problem, especially when it comes to diet advice. In this presentation, I'll explain why it's risky to trust influencers for nutrition tips and why licensed professionals like doctors and registered dietitians are the only ones truly qualified to give evidence-based dietary guidance. The purpose of this presentation is to talk about something that I think a lot of us can relate to, getting health and diet advice from social media. It feels like every time we scroll, someone's promoting a new cleanse, a supplement, or showing off what I eat in a day video. And while some of it seems helpful, a lot of it is actually coming from people who aren't even qualified. Like, they're not doctors, they're not dietitians, they are influencers. The problem is, some of these people are recommending stuff that can actually be harmful, and many of the products they push aren't even FDA approved. They're getting paid to promote it, not because it's actually good for you. My goal with this presentation is to show why it's so important to get nutrition advice from people who are trained and licensed, like doctors and registered dietitians. They know what they're talking about, and they actually care about your health, not just views or followers. I also just want to raise awareness because I think a lot of us don't even realize how much misinformation is out there when it comes to food, health, and dieting. We deserve better than trendy advice that might mess with our health. We deserve real facts. Most of us spend a lot of time on social media, and whether we're trying to eat healthier, lose weight, or just feel better about ourselves, it's super easy to fall into the trap of following influencers who seem to have it all figured out. They post what they eat in a day, promote detox teas, or share their favorite supplements like they're experts. But here's the thing, most of them have no actual training in nutrition. They're not doctors, they're not registered dietitians, they are just regular people with a large following. And that's where the problem comes in. A lot of their advice is based on personal experience or trends, not science. In some cases, they're even promoting products that aren't approved by the FDA, and that can be seriously dangerous. So, in this presentation, I want to make it super clear why we need to stop trusting influencers for health advice and start tuning to real professionals. Because when it comes to what we put in our bodies, likes and followers should never matter more than facts. Now let's take a look at the actual evidence behind all of this. First, a 2022 study found that 86% of TikTok nutrition content contains misleading or false information. That's a huge number when you think about how many people turn to these videos for advice on how to eat, lose weight, or be healthy. On top of that, many of the supplements influencers promote aren't even FDA approved. That means they haven't been tested for safety or effectiveness. People assume they're safe because someone they follow is taking them, but they could be harmful or do absolutely nothing at all. Meanwhile, registered dietitians go through over 1,200 hours of supervised training and have to pass a national exam. They are literally licensed to give personalized, science-based nutrition advice, unlike influencers who are just sharing options. And finally, a 2024 study found that TikTok trends often lack scientific support and promote harmful ideals, like food guilt or unrealistic body goals. That kind of content doesn't help. It actually hurts people's relationship with food and their bodies. All of this shows why it's so important to look at where your health advice is coming from and who you are trusting. Now let's break down why it's so important to listen to doctors and dietitians when it comes to nutrition. First, they base their evidence on actual science, not trends or personal opinions. They don't give you tips based on what's popular on TikTok that week. Instead, their guidance comes from research, clinical studies, and years of evidence-based practice. These professionals spend years studying topics like biology, disease prevention, metabolism, and how food affects the body. They understand how nutrition connects to everything, from mental health to chronic conditions like diabetes or heart disease. They're trained to see the big picture, not just calories or carbs. And what makes them even more trustworthy is how personal their advice is. A dietitian doesn't just hand you a one-size-fits-all plan. They ask about your lifestyle, your medical history, your culture, your goals, and then they build a nutrition plan that's actually tailored for you. Compare that to influencers who give you the same advice to everyone. Like, just eat this smoothie every morning and you'll lose weight. They're not thinking about your health needs. They're thinking about views, likes, and getting paid to promote something. That's a huge difference. Influencers often generalize their advice because it's meant to reach the most people and go viral. But generally, advice can be unsafe, especially if someone has allergies, health conditions, or is recovering from disordered eating. So the main point is, when it comes to your health, especially your nutrition, one size fits all doesn't work. And that's exactly why we need these experts. Doctors and dietitians are trained to treat individuals. Influencers are trained to build followings, and that's a really important difference. When it comes to our health, especially stuff like our own diet, weight, or how we feel about our bodies, we're all kind of vulnerable. We want answers. We want to feel better, look better, be healthier. And because of that, it's easy to fall for what influencers are selling, especially when it looks polished and convincing. But here's the thing, your health isn't a trend. It's not something you should risk just because someone with a ring light and a discount code told you to buy a product. I'm not saying that all influencers are bad or have bad intentions, but most of them aren't qualified. They're giving advice for views, not for your safety. And sometimes that advice can be damaging, physically, mentally, or perhaps both. So my challenge to you is this. The next time you hear a diet tip online, ask yourself, is this person actually qualified to be giving health advice? If the answer is no, don't follow it. Your body deserves better. You deserve advice that's safe, smart, and actually meant to help you, not just something that fits into a 15-second video or a sponsored post. So instead of chasing trends, let's choose trust. Let's choose professionals who are educated, experienced, and care about long-term health, not just short-term hype. So to wrap everything up, this presentation wasn't just about social media or diet trends. It was about recognizing the difference between what looks good and what's actually good for us. We've seen how easy it is to get pulled into advice from influencers who aren't qualified, who promote unsafe products, or who push diet culture that can lead to serious physical and mental health issues. On the other hand, doctors and dietitians are trained, licensed, and educated to give you nutrition advice that's based on you, your body, your health, your life. That kind of guidance is personal, science-based, and safe. The internet is full of voices, but not all of them deserve your trust, especially when it comes to your health. So the next time you're about to follow a diet tip you saw online, take a moment and ask, is this coming from someone who's trained to help me or someone who's trained to influence me? I hope after hearing this, your answer will be clear. Trust the experts, trust the science, and most importantly, take care of your body the right way. Thank you so much for listening.